have that connection brings a certain fire inside of you. It feels real.
If that's not joy, I don't know what is.
I've always been grateful for every opportunity.
There's a lot of people that want to simplify their lives, but don't really know how to do that.
There's a beauty to flexibility and a simplicity.
Throughout the world, there are people who have created lives of deep meaning and happiness by connecting with nature and the processes of simplification. Come with me on a journey and let's find out how they've done it. Graham is a highly successful entrepreneur. He has a proven knack for identifying trends and is a visionary in how urbanites can create happier lives through simplified design. I recently interviewed Graham in his apartment in Venice Beach, California, and shortly thereafter, my kids and I explored his micro apartment in New York City. I left these experiences inspired and eager to see how his wisdom and concepts are embraced.
Fundamentally, LifeEdited believes that if we're smart about how we apply design and technology, maybe a little behavior change, we can create really compelling, fulfilling lives that are smaller, that allow you to live within your means financially and environmentally, and that a simpler life is a happier life. So I gave a TED Talk a couple years ago. It has 2.3 million views. I wrote an op-ed in the New York Times earlier in 2013. And it was the most emailed article for 5 days straight of everything on the Times. And so I was confident that some people would like this, but it's clear that this is hitting some core in our society, that people are really interested in this concept, which makes sense. In America, we've supersized ourselves over the last 50 or 60 years. And so we have 3 times the amount of space per person that we used to. We also have a $22 billion personal storage industry, so we have way more space and way more stuff. We've become huge consumers, and it's just not working for us. Often things are designed for the rare occasion, right? And when you do that, it just changes, it makes the design so much less efficient. If your spare bedroom, if you have a lot of guests, it's probably used 20% of the time. So you're dedicating this room and everything in it, and the heating and the cooling and the cleaning and the insuring and the buying and the selling and the moving, and for this one room, and it sits empty 80% of the time. Actually more than that, because really the room's only used at night for that 20% of the time. Mm-hmm. And so that's a lot. And so, if you think about it differently, you're like, well, maybe it'll be better that when I have people come visit, I get a hotel for them. We have more debt, our environmental footprints are much, much larger, and happiness levels have essentially flatlined since then. So despite conceptually having more, we're not any better off, and in fact, I think we're worse off. I think the realization is just that happiness is not about stuff nor space. Happiness is about people, it's about experiences, it's about connection. Like, those are the things that we're really looking for. We're natural pack rats because until 50, 60 years ago, that is the thing that made the most sense, hold on to as many resources as you can, because there didn't used to be much to hold on to. So but that has changed, and that's the big difference. So it's hard for us to let go of stuff. So a good thing is you get a box, and there's going to be stuff that you can get rid of easily. There's going to be stuff that you have issues with in the maybe pile. Put it in the box, write the date on it, and then 6 months later, can you remember what's in the box? Did you have to go into the box at all to get anything? And if you didn't, you're probably in pretty good form and you can get rid of it if it's hard for you. And there's a beautiful simplicity to it, and like just having less stuff, but just great stuff that you really like. So we're not like anti-stuff. We're not saying run around in a loincloth. You're gonna need things, but really be conscious and don't impulse buy, but really think about things. But the American dream is really concentrated on this idea that it keeps on going up, and that when you have 3 houses and the more expensive car and this, that it's going to make you happier. And it's just like, studies definitely prove that that's not the case. The world is urbanizing, so half of the world lives in cities, and that's going up to 70% by, I think, 2030. So more and more people living in cities. And cities are great because they're much greener, because of the way that they share resources. And density is really important for innovation and greenness, and so small spaces are just really a way to help that along. And so I think I'm trying to help the US sort of reverse its trend and really not set such a bad example for the rest of the world. So the best thing you can do for nature is live in a city. Cities are better at sharing, and as a result have much less footprint. So conceptually we often think of the house out in the countryside as being that's going to be the green solution. It's not. It's the apartment in the city, because you're sharing walls and floors and ceilings for heating and cooling, and you're sharing transportation and sewage and water and electricity, and you can walk everywhere and bike everywhere, and so cities make a ton of sense. And so, you know, instead of suburbia, you know, taking over the countryside, I think it's better if it's sort of we push it together and go a little more vertical, and leave more nature being just nature. You know, there are two kind of types. There's the people who can choose to downsize, and the people that are forced to downsize. And what's interesting is that it's often sort of the same result. Like, people are like, you know, something happens and they downsize, and they're like, wow, okay, you know, their house burns down, or they lose a job, or and then they realize, wow, this is actually a better way of living. The focus really is on understanding what's really important to you, being conscious about what you bring into your life, focusing on less but better, so having things, just less of them, but really smart things that you really like, that are going to last a long time, and just keeping it simple. And that's what I've come to personally, and I think there's a large part of society is sort of interested in that and drawn to that, because we have really complex lives.
Me Simple is building a website around the topics of simple living, finding gratitude, and connection with nature and the world around us. If you know of individuals, books, articles, or videos that address these topics, please share them with us today at mesimple.com.